I love those old books that have either their title and the titles of chapters and things. On the flight of birds in the summer, on the colour of the dawn sky in autumn, things like that. So this I'm going to call on the topic of hatching, and I don't mean registering your chickens who are laying eggs. I mean hatches on model vehicles, and this is what's brought it to the fore, because it's one of those with so many 1/48th scale jobbies. There's a lot of detail, there's a lot of interior detail, and there are hatches to be opened for display. You lose an awful lot of that for a start. There's no way around that. You can cut these panels out and get inside and have a look at all the guns and some other stuff besides. Look at all that. So you could build it and lose it just for the joy of building, I suppose, or you could have the hatches off and you could see quite a lot of it. But I was saying in the actual film about building this aircraft that I really like the rather dynamic shape of the Hawker Hurricane, and I wasn't going to have any hatches open, particularly, you know, the machine gun ones on the wing, but also the wheels down. They're not going to be down, so that'll, you know, save a lot of time on it and leave me with a lot of spare parts. But there's also things like this, and as a kid I loved open hatches, so I would have gone mad about all the 1/48th aircraft, and I would have gone out of my mind with this. I loved all that interior detail. Now I'm, you know, I can see I can see the final veil in the distance, so to speak. You become aware that it takes up time, if nothing else. And so, for me, it's becoming about form, the form of the object itself. So I'm less interested in open hatches. This one is... Now I have to interject in my musings to muse further, because yet not only would I have been thrilled at all this as a kid, all these hatches and so on, but it's the right way to make a model, really, isn't it? Make the parts of the model in accordance with the parts of the object you're making. And it's I find it's very frustrating to end up with a model where you can't do what you feel you might want to do with it, like have a hatch open or closed, have a head sticking out or whatever. And at the same time you're getting weird, misshapen, contorted and in a way irrelevant parts that don't make a lot of sense apart from to create the structure to hold the model up, to support this odd puzzle that we've all engaged in. So it's good and it's the right thing to do. It just means I've got to make a decision. And I'm usually good at that. But sometimes it's too great a decision. Actually, regarding decision making, sometimes it's harder the more trivial the topic. Unless the issue in question, I suppose, is emotionally painful. But when you're in the world of trivia, nothing is actually a motivator or a driver. But there's a whole other branch of claptrap. And so, for me, it's becoming about form, the form of the object itself. So I'm less interested in open hatches. This one is a phenomenal model by the look of it. I haven't started it, It's got shed loads of interior detail, and, well, let's have a look at a bit of the interior detail. Here we go with all this stuff. That looks like the radio, yeah. Little seats, everything. That would have made me a very happy young man. And hatches, often with several parts, so they're not just flat things that you can have open or shut and hope for the best. Look, you can add the detail, which is wonderful. But when I saw this model and I succumbed to the craving and bought it, I did so because I like the look of the thing. And there's not enough attention paid to armoured cars. And it's really nice to see this, I was going to say Dark Age, I don't mean that, do I? Cold War vehicle being given such attention. So I think it's unlikely that I'm going to have all the hatches open. I have seen people online who've done it and it looks a bit weird. You end up asking yourself, why have they got all the hatches open? Obviously the model maker has got them open because they've made all the parts and they want to be able to see them. So it is about the model making process. Whereas I am now sticking with the aesthetics. There are answers to this problem, aren't there? And you're probably screaming them. One is to, particularly with like the aircraft, if they've got really good cockpit detail, to actually cut some of the fuselage out and have you able to see the interior, which I have seen a few models like that, and they are very expensive. And I made, when I lost a lot of films in the very early days, I made a Whitley, yeah, British aircraft, twin engine bomber, and that had a nice interior, and I put a bunch of very good, I think they're Revell or Italeri, must be Revell, RAF figures in. So they were active, and then I built it and put it all together, and you can't really see how active they are. And if I find it again, because it's still boxed up from the move, I'm considering, can I cut some of the sides off? I wonder if I can, just to be able to see in. Guaranteed it's not as good as I remember it being, but that's another matter. And I'm also, part of the reason I'm thinking that is because I have got another unmade version of the Whitley. So I could just put standard, you know, these standard figures provided in and have that one all closed up. I do not have many of the RAF figure set left, not enough to do a good job now. So I'd have to go that way round, which is the most difficult way. There is one final way of dealing with things, particularly like this one, and that is to buy another one and do it with the hatches open.